Everyone, Seth here with Living Large and Tiny Living, and there's a debate that will keep on raging, and it's about composting toilets versus incinerating toilets versus RV toilets. And although I can't provide you an answer as to which one you should get, I can tell you some of the costs involved in each one and how much each is going to cost to buy and then also to maintain and run each year. So we'll go ahead and get right into that, and we'll start off with just showing the cost of purchasing an RV toilet, a incinerating toilet that runs off of electricity, an incinerating toilet with propane, and a composting toilet. So here are the costs to purchase. So with this, I did include the price of a black water tank for the RV toilet, because you're not going to be able to use an RV toilet unless you have the black water tank. But for the other toilets, I just included the price of the toilet, not any other extra costs like the piping or venting to run out of the house or anything like that. It's just the price of the toilet. And for the most part, those extra costs are going to be pretty minimal, so I didn't include those. But here are the yearly running costs, not including the purchase price. With the RV toilet, you can dump the black water tanks for free in a lot of instances, but I went ahead and considered that it was one person using it, and so you'd have to dump it every 2 weeks, and I went ahead and said that it would just be a $10 fee to dump, because that's a pretty safe bet. You can usually find somewhere $10 or less to dump a black water tank. The other toilets are pretty simple. The electric incinerating toilet was based on 12 cents per kilowatt, and the propane was based on just a regular 15-pound propane tank that you go exchange every so often. And then the composting toilet was very cheap because I just went ahead and considered that it would be just throwing in a handful of peat moss. I didn't include the electricity cost to run the fan or anything like that. But that is going to be your costs for a yearly running expense. We have to include, though, our initial cost to purchase the toilets, because as you can tell there, the composting toilet was the cheapest on the year-long basis. But that doesn't tell us too much, because we might have to spend a whole bunch of money on the toilet in the first place, so one might be cheaper than the other once we compare initial cost and running cost. So here is a year-long cost for the toilet, including initial purchase price plus a year's worth of expenses. Now, another thing that I will say is that I didn't include maintenance cost or repair costs, because that can vary widely from toilet to toilet and manufacturer to manufacturer. So I didn't think it was fair to include any of those costs, just because that might vary on usage and how well it was maintained in general. So there's just too much to consider there to make it a fair and accurate comparison. I did have to include some parameters, though, so if you want to know what those parameters were to calculate all these costs, I can put those down in the comments if you would like. And here are the 5-year cost for each toilet. So you saw how the price tended to increase with exactly how mobile each toilet was, as far as if you could go off-grid with it, or also what kind of work that you had to do to maintain it and clean it and all of that. So you're going to have to consider all of that when you're deciding on which toilet you're going to use, because if you're going to be hooked to the grid where you've got power and you can hook up to a septic tank or something of that nature, then you're probably not going to want to go with the propane or the propane incinerator, because you can go with the electric incinerator and it would be cheaper. You might want to go with a composting, just because if that's what you want to go with, then go ahead and use that. But the easiest and the cheapest would be the RV toilet in that instance, as long as you can dump for free. It would be more expensive, however, if you were going to have to go dump it somewhere, if you were trying to be off-grid and you had an RV toilet in it anyway. So if you're going to be off grid, on the other hand, I wouldn't recommend the electric incinerating toilet because it will take up so much energy, because it uses about 1.5 kW to 2 kilowatts every single cycle. So you could end up using 8 to 10 kilowatts a day just off of that toilet, and that's too much energy if you're running off of solar panels, because you can use that for a lot of other things. Now, you probably also don't want to go with an RV style toilet, because you're going to have to dump it every 2 weeks or so. And that's not the best option if you're trying to be off grid and not have to take your tiny house into town every 2 weeks. So at that point, you're stuck with either a composting or a propane incinerating toilet. And then you just kind of have to weigh the costs there and decide what is going to work best for you in your situation. Because composting toilets are going to have to be emptied out every 3 to 4 weeks, and you're going to have more mass in the toilet when you're emptying that out, because you're going to have peat moss in there that you're going to have to be putting in there, or some sort of a organic material like that. And then with the incinerating toilet, you're going to have to be buying propane every so often, and then you're also going to have to empty out the ashes from the toilet. And so there's a little bit of hassle with each. You just have to decide what is the best for you. And then you can also go on to sites like Amazon or anywhere that has reviews, and you can check out the reviews of each and decide what are the pros and cons, and then just figure out what's going to work. But I hope that helped answer some questions and gave you some good information. And I also hope that you have a great week, and I will catch you on the next video.